The emergency lights in the Galactic Council chamber flashed red 3 times before the main doors opened. Ambassador Jake Morrison walked through them with steady steps, his blue diplomatic uniform clean and pressed. Behind him came his team of 5 humans, all wearing the same calm expressions they always did. Kevin Palmer, the youngest of the group, carried a data pad and stayed close to Jake's left side. The council chamber was massive. 47 different species sat in curved rows that rose up like an amphitheater. Each species had their own section, with seats designed for their specific body types. The insectoid Zrixtal stood at the center podium, his multiple eyes watching Jake's approach. Zrixtal was the council speaker, and he looked nervous. Jake had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years now. In that time, he had earned a reputation as a reasonable diplomat. He smiled often, compromised when needed, and never raised his voice. The other species liked him. They thought humans were easy to work with. They thought humans were weak. Jake took his seat in the human section. Lisa Hart, head of his security team, stood near the entrance as always. She wore no visible weapons, following council rules. Her hands stayed relaxed at her sides. Her eyes scanned the room constantly. Zrixtal's voice came through the translation devices everyone wore. The council recognizes Ambassador Gorthak of the Krenth Empire. A large reptilian figure moved to the center podium. Gorthak stood over 7 feet tall, his scales dark green and scarred from many battles. The Krenth were known as warriors throughout the galaxy. They had conquered 12 systems in the last 50 years. The council had done nothing to stop them. Gorthak's voice was deep and harsh. The Krenth Empire has expanded into 3 new systems. We claim them by right of strength. The council will recognize our sovereignty over these territories. Several council members shifted in their seats. No one spoke against him. The Krenth had the largest military fleet of any council species. Everyone knew this. Everyone feared them. Jake watched without expression. Kevin leaned close and whispered, "Should we say something?" "Not yet," Jake replied quietly. "Let him talk." Gorthak continued. "These systems now belong to the Krenth. Any species with mining operations or colonies there has 30 days to leave. After that, they will be removed by force." High Counselor Venn, a tall reptilian with blue scales, spoke up. "Ambassador Gorthak, the council has rules about territorial expansion. You cannot simply take systems that other species inhabit." Gorthak laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Your rules mean nothing without strength to enforce them. The Krenth have strength. You have words." He turned his head slowly, looking at each section of the council. "Does anyone here wish to challenge the Krenth military?" Silence filled the chamber. Jake noticed how many council members looked down at their seats. They were afraid. The Krenth had made them afraid. Zrixtal tried to regain control. "Perhaps we can discuss compensation for the displaced species. Surely the Krenth Empire can negotiate terms." "We do not negotiate with prey," Gorthak said. He seemed to grow larger as he spoke. "But I will accept tribute, as a gesture of goodwill to the council." "What kind of tribute?" Venn asked carefully. Gorthak's eyes moved to the human section. Jake felt the weight of that gaze. "The humans have 3 colony worlds, small populations easy to relocate. The Krenth will take these worlds as tribute. The humans will leave within 10 days. Kevin's hand tightened on his datapad. Jake placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. A gentle pressure that said, "Wait." "You cannot simply demand entire worlds," Venn protested. "The humans are council members. They have rights." "They have what we allow them to have," Gorthak said. He pulled out a small device and activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. The image showed a human colony. Buildings, streets, parks, people walking, children playing. Jake recognized it immediately. New Haven Colony, 200,000 people lived there. It was humanity's newest settlement, only 5 years old. The image zoomed in on the central plaza. Krenth soldiers stood in formation around a group of humans. Men, women, children, all surrounded by armed warriors. The humans looked terrified. "This image is live," Gorthak said. "My forces are already in position around New Haven. We have taken 3,000 of your people into protective custody, including 800 children." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You will surrender all 3 of your colony worlds. If you refuse, we will execute 10 hostages every hour until you agree." The chamber erupted in voices. Some species shouted in protest. Others remained silent. Jake noticed that most stayed quiet. They did not want to anger the Krenth. They valued their own safety more than human lives. Jake stood slowly. The movement drew attention. The chamber grew quiet again as everyone turned to look at him. His face showed no emotion. His hands hung loose at his sides. But something had changed. Kevin saw it first. The way Jake's shoulders set differently. The way his eyes focused with absolute clarity on Gorthak. "Ambassador Morrison," Zrixtal said, "does Earth have a response to this ultimatum?" Jake walked down to the center floor. His steps were quiet, measured. He stopped 10 feet from Gorthak, who towered over him. The Krenth ambassador's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Your species has been very cooperative since joining the Council," Gorthak said. "Always agreeable, always compromising. This is why we chose you for tribute. You understand your place in the galaxy?" Jake looked up at the larger being. His voice came out soft and calm. "You made a mistake." Gorthak's smile widened. "Did I? Your people are helpless. Your colony is surrounded. Your military consists of a few merchant ships with light weapons. What mistake did I make?" "You threatened our children," Jake said simply. Something in his tone made Gorthak's smile fade slightly. "You will surrender the colonies. You have no choice." Jake reached into his jacket pocket slowly. Every weapon in the room tracked him for a moment before the owners realized he was pulling out a simple communication device. He pressed a button and spoke clearly. "Lisa, please have our people join us." The main doors opened. Lisa Hart walked through first, followed by 20 more humans in similar uniforms. They spread out along the walls. None showed weapons. All stood relaxed. But the way they moved made several council members uncomfortable, like predators spreading out before a hunt. Jake turned to address the full council. His diplomatic smile was gone completely. "For 3 years, I have represented humanity in this council. We have been good neighbors, fair traders, peaceful friends." He paused. "You have mistaken our kindness for weakness. You have confused our diplomacy for fear. You have forgotten where humans come from." He activated his own holographic display. Earth appeared in the center of the chamber, blue and green and beautiful from space. "Earth is what we call a death world," Jake continued. "The gravity is 30% higher than galactic standard. The oxygen content in our atmosphere would intoxicate most of you within hours. Our planet is home to millions of predator species. Many hunt in packs. Many use tools. Some show tactical intelligence." The image changed to show various Earth animals: lions, wolves, bears, sharks. "Humans are not the strongest predator on our world. We are not the fastest. We are not the largest. But we are the apex predator because we never stop. We track our prey for days. We adapt to any environment. We cooperate with lethal efficiency." Gorthak laughed, but it sounded forced now. "You think showing me animals will frighten the Krenth? We are warriors." Jake's eyes locked onto Gorthak with sudden intensity. The kind of focus a wolf gives to prey that has wandered too close to the den. "You have 6 hours to release every hostage unharmed. You will withdraw all forces from human space immediately. You will pay compensation to every family you terrorized." "Or what?" Gorthak demanded. "You have no fleet, no army. What will you do, human?" Jake's voice dropped even quieter, which somehow made it more terrible. "Or we stop pretending to be civilized." The lights in the council chamber dimmed slightly as 47 human warships decloaked in the space around Harmony Prime Station. Every screen in the chamber showed the same image: ships that had been listed as cargo vessels revealing weapon systems along their hulls. Advanced technology the council had never seen before. A new hologram appeared beside Jake, a human in military uniform with gray hair and steady eyes. "Fleet Admiral Chris Bennett reporting. All ships in position, Ambassador. Awaiting your orders." Jake looked at Gorthak. The Krenth's confident posture had shifted. Uncertainty showed in his eyes. Around the chamber, council members stared at the display of force. "Your 6 hours started 3 minutes ago," Jake said. Gorthak stared at the holographic display of human warships surrounding the station. His mouth opened and closed twice before words came out. "This is impossible. Your merchant fleet consists of unarmed cargo vessels. We have intelligence reports." Jake's expression did not change. "You have the intelligence we wanted you to have." He gestured to Kevin, who brought up a new display. "Every ship humanity sent into council space has been armed since the beginning. We used projection technology to hide the weapons, made our vessels look peaceful, simple, harmless." The display showed schematics of a typical human cargo ship. Then the image peeled away layers to reveal missile batteries, railguns, and energy weapons hidden inside the hull. Dozens of weapons on a single vessel. "Why would you hide this?" Ven asked from his seat. His blue scales had gone pale. "Council rules allow defensive weapons." "Because we wanted to be underestimated," Jake said simply. He walked slowly around the center podium as he spoke. Every species tracked his movement now. They watched him the way prey animals watch a circling wolf. "Humans learned a long time ago that being seen as weak has advantages. People tell you their secrets, show you their defenses, make plans assuming you will not fight back." Zrixtal's multiple eyes blinked rapidly. "You have been spying on the council?" "We have been gathering information," Jake corrected. "About everyone. Where your fleets are stationed, your supply routes, your military capabilities, your political structures, your weaknesses." He stopped walking and faced the full council. "Not because we plan to attack anyone, but because you never know when someone will threaten your children." Kevin brought up another display. This one showed the Krenth Empire's entire military deployment. Every ship, every station, every supply depot. The level of detail was incredible. Gorthak's eyes widened as he recognized classified locations. "How did you acquire this information?" Gorthak demanded. His voice had lost its confident boom. "We are very good at not being noticed," Jake said. "Human intelligence operatives have been working throughout council space for years. You never saw them because we look harmless. We smile and trade and ask friendly questions, and we remember everything." Lisa Hart spoke for the first time since entering the chamber. "We have operatives in 37 different systems right now, including 12 inside Krenth space." Her voice was calm and professional. "They have been mapping your infrastructure since the day Earth joined the Council." Admiral Bennett's hologram flickered and updated. "Ambassador, I am receiving confirmation from our Special Operations team. They have successfully infiltrated New Haven Colony. All hostage locations identified. Extraction plan ready for execution on your command." Gorthak's head whipped toward the hologram. "That is not possible. My forces have the colony locked down. No ships can approach without being detected." "Your sensors are very good," Jake agreed. "But 3 days ago, when you were preparing to take hostages, we sent down a civilian evacuation shuttle. At least, that is what your people thought it was. Actually, it carried 30 Special Forces operators with full combat equipment. Another display appeared, showing infrared images of the colony from orbit. Small, red dots moved through the streets, invisible to normal sight. The Krenth guards showed up as bright yellow signatures. The red dots moved around them like ghosts, never detected. For 3 days, my people have been positioning themselves around your hostages, Jake continued. They know where every guard stands. They know your patrol patterns. They know which buildings have explosives. They know everything. He looked directly at Gorthak. Your soldiers never had a chance. The Krenth ambassador's scales had begun to darken, a sign of stress in his species. You are bluffing. Humans do not have this level of military capability. Your technology is inferior. Jake smiled for the first time since the confrontation began. It was not a friendly expression. Our technology appears inferior because we showed you older equipment. 15 years ago, when we first made contact with the Council, we assessed the general tech level. We built export versions of our ships and tools that matched your expectations. We kept our best technology at home. He nodded to Kevin, who brought up specifications of human weapons systems. Energy output ratings that exceeded anything the Council used. Armor materials that could withstand direct hits. Propulsion systems that allowed faster-than-light travel without the bulky drives other species required. The ships you see around this station are our diplomatic fleet, Jake said. They are not our military fleet. Our actual warships are bigger, faster, and carry weapons that could crack a planet's crust. He paused. We keep 400 of them in the Sol system. We keep another 150 at each of our colonies, just in case someone forgets that humans are not prey. Council members began talking among themselves. The volume rose as species argued and questioned and expressed shock. Zrixtal had to strike his podium 3 times before order returned. Ambassador Morrison, the speaker said carefully, are you telling this council that humanity has maintained a secret military force the entire time you have been a member? Not secret, Jake corrected. We never lied about having a military. We simply did not volunteer specifics. When species asked about our defensive capabilities, we gave honest but incomplete answers. We allowed you to make assumptions. He looked around the chamber. Every species here does the same thing. You do not broadcast your military secrets. Neither do we. But you actively deceived us, Ven protested. You made your ships look like cargo vessels. We made our military vessels serve double duty as cargo ships, Jake said. More efficient that way. And yes, we used stealth technology to hide weapons. Again, we never claimed to be unarmed. We just did not draw attention to how heavily armed we actually are. Gorthak had been silent for several moments. Now he spoke again, his voice lower. Even if this is true, you cannot stand against the Krenth Empire. We have 200 warships. You admit to having only 47 in this fleet. This fleet, Jake agreed. He looked at Admiral Bennett. Chris, would you mind? The Admiral's hologram smiled. With pleasure. He touched something off-screen. Throughout the chamber, new holographic displays appeared. Each one showed a different region of space. And in each region, human warships decloaked from stealth. The displays updated with numbers. 50 ships near Earth, 40 near each colony, 20 spread throughout Council space, 15 positioned near Krenth borders. The total climbed rapidly. 532 warships, Admiral Bennett announced. That is our current active fleet. We have another 200 in various stages of construction, and if we need more, we can convert our mining and exploration vessels. They are already built with military-grade hulls and power systems. The council chamber fell completely silent. Even Gorthak seemed unable to speak. Jake let the silence stretch for a moment before continuing. Earth has been building its military for 200 years. We have fought wars among ourselves that killed millions. We learned hard lessons about warfare, about technology, about what it takes to survive against enemies who want to destroy you. His voice grew colder. We learned that peace is only possible when you have the strength to defend it. Words mean nothing without teeth behind them. He walked closer to Gorthak until only a few feet separated them. The size difference was obvious. Gorthak stood more than 2 feet taller and outweighed Jake by at least 100 pounds. But Jake did not look up at him like prey looking at a predator. He looked up like one predator assessing another. "Here is what will happen now," Jake said quietly. "You will contact your forces on New Haven and order them to release all hostages immediately. You will have them lay down their weapons and surrender to my Special Forces team. You will withdraw all Krenth military from human space within the next 12 hours, and you will pay compensation of 10 million credits to each family you terrorized." "And if I refuse?" Gorthak asked. His voice tried to sound strong but came out strained. "Then my special forces will take the hostages by force. Your guards will be neutralized. Your ships in orbit will be disabled. And the Krenth Empire will learn what happens when you threaten human children." Jake's eyes never blinked. "We will show you that humans do not just fight wars. We finish them. Completely. Permanently. Without mercy for those who harm innocents." Admiral Bennett spoke again. "Ambassador, I have Captain Nicole Patterson on the line. The Valkyrie has reached New Haven system and is in position." A new hologram appeared. A woman with short dark hair and sharp eyes, wearing a naval uniform. "This is Captain Patterson. My ship is scanning the Krenth fleet. 15 vessels in orbit around New Haven, all showing active weapon systems and shields." She looked at Jake through the hologram. "Sir, I can have them disabled in under 10 minutes. 0 casualties if you want. Or I can remove them permanently. Your call." Jake kept his eyes on Gorthak. "What is it going to be, Ambassador? Do your people stand down peacefully? Or do we show the galaxy what human military power actually looks like?" Gorthak's hands had curled into fists. His breathing had become heavier. Jake could see the calculations happening behind his eyes. Pride versus survival. Warrior culture versus practical reality. Finally, the Krenth ambassador reached for his own communication device with a shaking hand. The human warship Valkyrie moved through space like a hunting shark. On the bridge, Captain Nicole Patterson watched her screens with complete focus. Her crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. No panic, no hesitation. They had trained for situations like this hundreds of times. "Tactical, give me full analysis of the Krenth formation," Nicole ordered. Lieutenant Brandon Cruz looked up from his station. 15 Krenth warships in standard defensive pattern around the colony. 3 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, 4 frigates, all shields at maximum. Weapons charged and tracking our approach. They know we are here, Captain." Nicole nodded. She had expected that. The Valkyrie was not trying to hide. "Communications, patch me through to the Krenth flagship." A moment later, a Krenth commander appeared on the main screen. His scales were dark red, almost black. His eyes were cold and calculating. "Human vessel, you are ordered to leave this system immediately. This colony is under Krenth control. I am Captain Nicole Patterson of the Earth Defense Force. You are holding 3,000 human civilians hostage, including children. I am here to retrieve them." Nicole's voice carried no emotion, just facts. "You have one opportunity to release them peacefully." The Krenth commander's mouth curved into something like a smile. "You have 1 ship. We have 15. Your weapons are inferior to ours. Leave now or be destroyed." "Final warning," Nicole said calmly. "Release the hostages." The Krenth commander cut the transmission. On the tactical display, all 15 Krenth ships began moving into attack formation, their weapons locked onto the Valkyrie. Brandon looked at Nicole. "They are preparing to fire, Captain." "All crew, battle stations," Nicole announced over the ship's intercom. "Shields to maximum, weapons free. Electronic warfare, prepare to execute Package Alpha." Deep in the ship's electronic warfare center, A team of specialists activated systems the Krenth had never seen before. Invisible signals reached out toward the enemy fleet. They slipped past the Krenth shields like water through a net, finding the computer systems inside each ship. On the surface of New Haven Colony, Lieutenant Amy Foster pressed herself against the wall of a building. Her combat suit shifted colors to match the concrete behind her. To anyone looking, she appeared to be just another shadow. Around her, 29 other operators held similar positions throughout the central plaza. Amy's helmet display showed the positions of all 3,000 hostages. They were gathered in groups across the plaza, surrounded by Krenth guards. The guards looked nervous. They kept their weapons ready and scanned the area constantly. They knew something was wrong, but could not see the threat. "Ghost Team, report status," Amy whispered into her communication device. One by one, her team members confirmed their positions. All in place, all ready, all waiting for the signal. In the council chamber, Jake had connected his display to the Valkyrie's command feed. Every council member could now watch what was happening in real time. They saw the space around New Haven. They saw the Krenth fleet moving to attack. They saw the single human ship holding position. Gorthak watched with obvious satisfaction. "One ship against 15. Your captain is either very brave or very foolish." "She is very well trained," Jake said quietly. On the display, the Krenth flagship fired first. A massive energy beam lanced across space toward the Valkyrie. It should have torn through the human ship's shields and crippled it with a single shot. Instead, the beam bent around the Valkyrie like water around a stone. The ship's shields glowed briefly but held. "What?" Gorthak leaned forward. "That is impossible. Our weapons cannot miss at that range." "They did not miss," Jake explained. "We redirected the beam using gravitational field manipulation. Your weapons work fine. They just cannot hit us." The other Krenth ships opened fire. Dozens of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Valkyrie. Every single one curved away harmlessly. Some beams actually looped back and struck the ships that fired them. Krenth shields flickered under friendly fire. Then the Valkyrie returned fire. The human ship did not use energy beams. Instead, it fired solid projectiles accelerated to a fraction of light speed. Magnetic railguns launched metal slugs that crossed the distance in microseconds. Each round had been precisely calculated. They struck specific points on each Krenth ship. The first round hit the flagship's engine section, not a direct hit on the engines themselves, but on the power coupling that fed them. The engine shut down immediately. The ship went dark. The second round struck a destroyer's weapons array. The control systems failed. All weapons went offline simultaneously. One by one, the Krenth ships lost power, lost weapons, lost maneuvering. Within 90 seconds, all 15 vessels drifted in space, disabled, helpless, but intact. Their crews were alive and unharmed. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Species jumped from their seats. Some shouted questions. Others simply stared at the display in disbelief. "You destroyed their entire fleet," Venn said, his voice barely above a whisper. "No," Jake corrected. "We disabled their fleet. None of the ships are destroyed. All crew members are safe. We could have killed them. We chose not to." On the surface of New Haven, Amy's helmet display flashed green. That was the signal. The space battle was over. Time to move. "Ghost Team, execute rescue," she commanded. The human operators moved as one. They emerged from hiding places the Krenth guards had never spotted. They moved fast and silent. Each operator had specific targets already assigned. Amy reached the first group of hostages in 3 seconds. She fired her weapon twice, not bullets, but tranquilizer darts that dropped the Krenth guards instantly. They fell without making a sound. Before the other guards could react, Amy was already moving to the next position. All around the plaza, Krenth guards dropped to the ground. Some managed to raise their weapons, but found them suddenly non-functional. Human electronic warfare had disabled every Krenth firearm in the area. The guards pulled their triggers. Nothing happened. One Krenth soldier tried to use his physical strength instead. He grabbed a human child, trying to use the boy as a shield. Brandon Cruz appeared behind him like a ghost. His hand struck the base of the Krenth's skull with precise force. The soldier's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. Brandon caught the child before he could fall. "You are safe now," Brandon said gently to the scared boy. "Stay with your parents. We will get everyone out." The entire rescue operation took 12 minutes. 3,000 hostages secured. 200 Krenth guards neutralized without a single death. The human operators moved the civilians through underground tunnels that they had mapped days before. The tunnels led to evacuation points where shuttles waited. In the council chamber, the display showed the entire operation from multiple angles. Drone cameras captured every movement. Every council member watched as human special forces executed a perfect rescue. Zurixtal's voice carried awe and fear in equal measure. "Your soldiers move like nothing I have ever seen. They are faster than the Krenth, more precise, and they took no lives when they easily could have." "That is the difference between warriors and protectors," Jake said. "Warriors fight for glory and conquest. Protectors fight to keep others safe. Humans can be both, but we choose to be protectors when possible." On the display, the last shuttle lifted off from New Haven's surface. All hostages were now safely aboard human ships. The Krenth guards had been secured in a temporary holding area. None were restrained uncomfortably. Medical teams were already checking them for injuries. Admiral Bennett appeared in hologram form again. "Ambassador, all civilians recovered. 0 casualties on our side. The Krenth soldiers are being treated well. We have provided food, water, and medical care. Captain Patterson reports the Krenth fleet is secured. Their crews are safe, but their ships will need several days of repairs before they can move under their own power." Jake turned to Gorthak. The Krenth ambassador had watched everything in silence. His earlier confidence was completely gone. His scales had gone pale, a sign of shock in his species. "Your people are alive because we allowed it," Jake said calmly. "Your ships are intact because we chose mercy. Your soldiers are being treated with dignity because that is what humans do." He paused. "But make no mistake. If you had killed even one hostage, if you had harmed even one child, this would have ended very differently." Gorthak swallowed hard. "What happens now?" "Now you contact your high command," Jake said. "You tell them what happened here. You tell them that humans are not prey. You tell them that we will defend ourselves and others with whatever force is necessary. And you tell them that if the Krenth Empire wants peace with humanity, we are willing. But if they want war, we will show them what war with a Death World species truly means." Lisa Hart stepped forward with a data pad. "These are the terms for releasing your soldiers and returning your ships. Withdraw from all human space. Pay compensation to the families you terrorized. Sign a non-aggression treaty with Earth. These terms are not negotiable." Gorthak took the data pad with shaking hands. He read through the terms slowly. Finally, he looked up at Jake. "You had all this power from the beginning. You could have conquered systems. Why did you not?" "Because conquest requires cruelty," Jake answered. "We are capable of cruelty when necessary, but we prefer kindness. We joined the council to make friends, not enemies. We showed you our peaceful side because that is who we want to be." His expression hardened. "But when you threaten our children, you see what we truly are. Predators who evolved to protect our young at any cost." Gorthak nodded slowly. He activated his communication device and began speaking in the Krenth language to his superiors. The transmission played on the chamber's displays. Council members who understood Krenth listened as Gorthak described everything that had happened. His voice carried defeat, but also something else. respect. After several minutes, a response came back. The Krenth High Command agreed to all terms. They would withdraw their forces. They would pay compensation. They would sign the treaty. The crisis was over. But the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. 3 hours after the rescue, the medical bay on the Valkyrie was busy but organized. Dr. Lauren Mitchell moved between beds where rescued colonists rested. Most were physically fine but showed signs of emotional trauma. The children were the priority. Lauren stopped at each young patient, speaking softly and checking their condition. A small girl with brown hair looked up at her. "Is it really over? Are the bad aliens gone?" Lauren smiled gently. "They are gone. You are safe now. And you know what? The soldiers who took you are being treated in the medical bay next door. We are making sure they are healthy too." The girl looked confused. "But they were mean to us. Why are you helping them?" "Because that is what good people do," Lauren explained. "Even when someone does something wrong, we still treat them with kindness. It is one of the things that makes us human." In the next bay, Brandon Cruz sat with one of the captured Krenth soldiers. The young soldier's scales were light green, indicating his youth. He kept staring at his hands. "Why did you not kill us?" the soldier asked. His voice came through a translation device. "We had weapons. We threatened your people. Your commander could have destroyed our ships with everyone inside." Brandon leaned back in his chair. "Because killing should always be the last choice, not the first. You were following orders. Your commanders made bad decisions. That does not mean you deserve to die. But among the Krenth, weakness is shameful. Showing mercy to enemies is considered weak." "Then maybe the Krenth have it wrong," Brandon said calmly. "True strength is choosing mercy when you have the power to destroy. Anyone can kill. It takes real courage to show compassion." The young soldier was quiet for a long moment. "I have never heard a warrior speak this way." "I am not a warrior," Brandon corrected. "I am a protector. There is a difference." Back in the council chamber, an emergency session had been called. Every species representative was present. Many had brought additional advisors and military experts. They all wanted to understand what had just happened. Zrixtal called the session to order. "The council recognizes Ambassador Jake Morrison of Earth." Jake stood but did not walk to the center podium. He remained in the human section. Lisa and Kevin stood nearby. The rest of the human delegation had returned. All of them had dropped their friendly diplomatic expressions. They looked alert, professional, ready. "I know you all have questions," Jake began, "so let me answer the main one. Yes, humanity has maintained extensive military capabilities since joining the Council. No, we never lied about it. We simply did not advertise our full strength." Ven spoke up. "But why hide it at all? Showing strength could have prevented conflicts, made other species think twice about aggression." "It would also have made you afraid of us from the beginning," Jake replied. "Look around this chamber right now. How many of you are viewing humans differently than you did this morning? How many of you are reconsidering your relationships with Earth?" Several council members shifted uncomfortably. The truth was obvious in their body language. "We wanted to be seen as equals," Jake continued, "as friends and trading partners. If we had arrived with 500 warships and announced we were from a death world full of predators, you would have treated us like the Krenth, with fear and suspicion. We would have been isolated." "But you were never really peaceful," another council member accused. "A being made of crystalline structures that refracted light. You were always preparing for war." "We were preparing for defense," Jake corrected. "There is a significant difference. Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped for peaceful cooperation, but we prepared for the possibility that someone would threaten us. Today proved that preparation was necessary." Admiral Bennett's hologram appeared again. If I may add something, Ambassador? Jake nodded. The Earth Defense Force has been active for 200 years, Bennett explained. In that time, we have fought exactly 0 wars of conquest. Every military action we have taken has been defensive or to protect others. Our ships are positioned near our own worlds and critical trade routes. We do not maintain forces near anyone else's territory unless invited. He brought up a galactic map showing human ship deployments. As you can see, our fleets protect what is ours. We do not threaten our neighbors. The 47 ships around this station are here because this is a council facility, and we have the right to protect our ambassador. The ships you saw at the borders of Krenth space only moved there after they took our colonists hostage. A Serpentine council member raised a question. But you developed stealth technology. You hid your weapons. This suggests planning for aggressive action. It suggests being cautious, Lisa Hart spoke up. Her voice was firm. How many species in this council have hidden capabilities? How many maintain intelligence networks? How many have contingency plans for conflict? She looked around the chamber. All of you. Every single species here has secrets. Some of you have surveillance on each other right now. Do not pretend that operational security is somehow uniquely human. The chamber fell quiet. She was right, and everyone knew it. Jake pulled up a new display. Let me show you something about human military philosophy. These are our rules of engagement. Text appeared in multiple languages. The rules were detailed and specific. Use minimum necessary force. Avoid civilian casualties. Treat prisoners humanely. Provide medical care to enemies. Only escalate when absolutely required. These rules are not suggestions, Jake explained. They are strict requirements. Every human soldier is trained in them from day one. Breaking these rules results in severe punishment. We have court systems specifically for military justice. Kevin brought up historical footage, images from Earth's past, soldiers helping wounded enemies, medical teams treating civilians from both sides of conflicts, prisoners being given food and shelter. Humans have fought terrible wars among ourselves, Jake said quietly. We have killed millions of our own species. We learned hard lessons about the cost of cruelty. We learned that treating enemies with dignity is not weakness. It is the only way to eventually have peace. More footage appeared. This time showing human military training. Soldiers learning combat techniques, yes, but also learning first aid, learning diplomacy, learning about different cultures and how to communicate effectively. Every human soldier is trained to be more than a fighter, Jake continued. They are trained to be protectors, medics, diplomats, and engineers. Because we know that military power is not just about destroying things, it is about building security that allows everyone to live in peace. Gorthak, who had been silent since his conversation with Krenth High Command, finally spoke. You say you fight only to protect, but you have enough power to conquer half the council. How do we know you will not change your minds? Jake looked at him directly. You have just seen what we can do. We disabled your entire fleet without killing anyone. We rescued hostages without harming your soldiers. We are treating your wounded right now in our medical bays. Does that seem like the behavior of conquerors? It seems like the behavior of beings who want to be seen as noble, Gorthak replied. But power corrupts. Today you are merciful. Tomorrow you might not be. Power does not corrupt, Jake said firmly. Power reveals. The Krenth have power and use it for conquest, because that is your nature. Humans have power and use it for protection because that is our nature. We have had this power since before we met the Council. We chose not to use it aggressively. That choice tells you everything you need to know about us. Ven stood up. Ambassador Morrison, I believe you. But many Council members are frightened now. They see humanity's military capability and worry about the future. What assurances can you provide? Jake thought for a moment before answering. I will make you a proposal, Earth will accept military observers from any council species that wants them. You can send people to watch our training, inspect our ships, observe our deployments. We will show you exactly what we are capable of and how we use that capability. In return, we ask that the Council establish a proper defense force, one that can protect member species from aggression. The chamber buzzed with conversation. This was unexpected. You want to help create a council military? Zrixtal asked. I want to help ensure what happened today never needs to happen again, Jake replied. The Krenth took hostages because they knew the council had no way to stop them. Military power concentrated in a few aggressive species creates situations like this. If the council had a defense force, if peaceful species could rely on collective security, maybe the Krenth would have thought twice. And you would train this force? Ven asked. We would contribute, along with other species. The Krenth could teach strategy. The Vex could provide engineering expertise. The Mindril could offer advanced communications. Every species has something valuable to add. Humans would focus on what we know best: tactical operations, defensive strategy, and ethical combat. Brandon's voice came through a communication channel to Jake. Sir, the young Krenth soldier I was speaking with wants to make a statement to the council. He says it is important. Jake looked at Zrixtal. Speaker, one of the captured Krenth soldiers requests permission to address the council. Zrixtal looked uncertain but nodded. Permission granted. A hologram appeared showing the young Krenth soldier. He looked nervous but spoke clearly. My name is Tekvar. I am a soldier in the Krenth military. I was part of the force that took human hostages. He paused. The humans could have killed all of us. Their ships could have destroyed ours. Their soldiers could have shot us instead of using sleep weapons, but they did not. They showed us mercy. They are treating our wounded. They gave us food and water. His voice grew stronger. I have been taught my whole life that mercy is weakness, that only the strong survive. But today I learned something different. The humans are strong, stronger than the Krenth, but they chose kindness over cruelty. That is not weakness. That is true strength. I want my people to learn this lesson before it is too late. The hologram faded. The council chamber was completely silent. Finally, Gorthak stood. I will recommend to my high command that the Krenth Empire sign a long-term peace treaty with Earth, and that we accept human military observers to learn your methods. Perhaps we have been wrong about many things. Jake nodded slowly. Thank you, Ambassador. That is a good first step toward a better relationship. 6 months had passed since what the galaxy now called the New Haven crisis. The council chamber looked the same as always, but the atmosphere inside had changed completely. Species that once saw humans as harmless traitors now treated them with careful respect, some with admiration, some with lingering fear. Jake Morrison stood at the human delegations section watching the proceedings. Today was important. The council was voting on the creation of the Council Defense Initiative, a combined military force drawn from multiple species, trained to protect members from aggression. It had been Jake's proposal, and today would determine if it became reality. Lisa Hart stood beside him. Nervous? She asked quietly. A little, Jake admitted. This could change everything, or it could fail completely. Kevin Palmer approached with a datapad. Sir, we have confirmation. 23 species have pledged ships and personnel to the initiative. The Krenth Empire has committed 12 vessels and 300 soldiers for training. Jake raised his eyebrows. The Krenth are actually participating? Apparently, Ambassador Gorthak convinced his high command that learning human tactical doctrine is essential. They want their military to understand how we operate. Kevin smiled slightly. He also mentioned that the Krenth are tired of being seen as the galaxy's bullies. Across the chamber, Gorthak sat in the Krenth section. He looked different now. His posture was less aggressive. His voice, when he spoke in sessions, carried more thoughtfulness and less threat. The incident at New Haven had changed him. Or perhaps it had simply revealed what kind of leader he could be when not trying to project constant strength. The session began with Zrixtal calling for order. The Council will now vote on Resolution 447, the Council Defense Initiative. Ambassador Morrison, would you like to address the Council before the vote? Jake walked to the center podium. He had practiced this speech many times, but still felt the weight of the moment. Every eye in the chamber watched him. Predator eyes that had learned he was also a predator. Prey eyes that now saw him as a guardian. 6 months ago, this council witnessed something terrible, Jake began. Children were taken hostage. Innocent people were threatened with death. And the council had no way to respond, no way to protect its members. We learned that peace maintained by fear of stronger neighbors is not real peace. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various representatives. Humanity responded because we had the capability and the will to act. But it should not be this way. Protection should not depend on whether one species happens to have a strong military nearby. It should be something all council members can rely on. A holographic display appeared showing the proposed structure of the defense initiative. Ships from multiple species, training facilities, response protocols. This initiative is not a human force with other species attached, Jake explained. It is a truly cooperative effort. Every species brings their strengths. The Krenth understand warrior culture and military strategy. The Vex have superior engineering and ship design. The Mindril can coordinate communications across vast distances. The Selthan have experience with non-lethal weapons and crowd control. Every member has something valuable to contribute. He paused before continuing. Humans will contribute our tactical training, our rules of engagement, and our understanding of defensive operations. But we will not lead this force. Leadership should rotate among participating species. This ensures no single culture dominates the initiative's character. Ven spoke up. Ambassador, there are still concerns. Some species worry that creating a military force might lead to the Council becoming aggressive, that we might use this power to enforce decisions on unwilling members. That is a valid concern, Jake acknowledged, which is why the initiative has strict limitations. It can only activate with a majority vote of the full Council. It can only be used for defensive operations or humanitarian missions. It cannot enforce political decisions or support one member against another in disputes. If species have disagreements, they resolve them through diplomacy, not force. Another council member, a floating being of pure energy, asked a question through its translation device. What happens if the initiative is misused? If leaders try to use it for conquest or oppression? Then any member species can withdraw their forces immediately, Jake answered. No one is locked in. If the initiative strays from its mission, if it becomes what we are trying to prevent, then species pull out and it dissolves. The moment it stops protecting and starts threatening, it ends. The debate continued for another hour. Species raised concerns and asked questions. Jake answered each one patiently. Lisa provided technical details when needed. Kevin referenced specific protocols and procedures. Finally, Zrixtal called for the vote. One by one, species cast their decisions. The display showed the tally climbing. It needed a 2/3 majority to pass. The numbers climbed steadily. The final vote came in, 41 in favor, 6 against. The Council Defense Initiative was approved. The chamber erupted in applause and various sounds that different species made to show approval. Jake felt tension drain from his shoulders. This was a good day. After the session ended, Jake found himself on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. The station's massive windows provided a view of dozens of ships from various species. Among them, human vessels moved in formation with Krenth warships. A sight that would have been impossible a year ago. Footsteps behind him. Jake turned to see Gorthak approaching. The Krenth ambassador moved slowly. his body language non-threatening. "Ambassador Morrison," Gorthak said. "May I speak with you?" "Of course," Jake replied. Gorthak stood beside him at the window. For a moment, neither spoke. Then the Krenth ambassador said quietly, "I owe you an apology. For New Haven, for threatening your people, for my arrogance." "You already apologized months ago," Jake reminded him. "I apologize to the council. This is personal." Gorthak's voice carried genuine regret. "I looked at humans and saw weakness. I thought your kindness meant you could not fight. I was wrong, and because I was wrong, children suffered. That shame will stay with me." Jake considered his response carefully. "The children are recovering. They are safe. That is what matters most. But they should never have been in danger." Gorthak turned to face Jake directly. "I have spent these months learning about human culture, your history, your philosophy. I learned about something you call restorative justice. The idea that wrongdoers should not just be punished, but should help repair the harm they caused." "Yes," Jake said. "We believe people can change. That mistakes do not have to define someone forever." "I would like to work toward that," Gorthak said. "The Krenth Empire is contributing ships to the defense initiative. But I want to do more personally. I would like to visit New Haven, to speak with the families we harmed, to help with reconstruction efforts, to show that the Krenth can be better." Jake studied the Krenth ambassador. He saw sincerity there, real desire to change. "I will speak with the colony leaders. If they agree to meet with you, I will arrange it. But you must understand, they might not be ready. Some wounds take time to heal." "I understand," Gorthak said. "I will wait as long as necessary, and I will continue working to change how my people think about strength and honor." After Gorthak left, Lisa joined Jake at the window. "That was unexpected," she commented. "People can surprise you," Jake said. "Sometimes in good ways. Do you think this will last? The defense initiative? The new relationships?" Jake was quiet for a moment. "I think we have a chance. We showed the galaxy that strength does not have to mean cruelty, that protection is possible without domination. Whether that lesson sticks depends on all of us continuing to prove it is true." 3 months later, Jake stood on the surface of New Haven Colony. The central plaza had been rebuilt. Where hostages once stood in fear, children now played in a new park. Memorials honored those who suffered, but also celebrated those who rescued them. Statues of human soldiers stood alongside monuments to civilian courage. A group approached. Families from the colony, escorted by Lieutenant Brandon Cruz. Behind them walked Gorthak, wearing simple civilian clothing instead of his diplomatic robes. He looked nervous. The colony's leader, an older woman named Patricia Hughes, stepped forward. She looked at Gorthak for a long moment. Jake could see the conflict in her eyes, the memory of fear, the knowledge of what this being represented, but also something else, the possibility of moving forward. "Ambassador Gorthak," Patricia said carefully, "you asked to speak with us. We have agreed to listen." Gorthak knelt down, bringing himself to Patricia's eye level despite the awkwardness of his body structure. "I am responsible for the suffering you endured. I gave the orders that put you and your children in danger. I have no right to ask for forgiveness, but I want you to know that I am working to ensure the Krenth never do this again. To anyone." Patricia's eyes were hard but not cold. "Words are easy, Ambassador. Action is what matters." "I know," Gorthak agreed, "which is why I have brought these." He pulled out a data pad and handed it to Patricia. Detailed information on Krenth military protocols, warning signs of aggressive posturing, intelligence on extremist factions within the Empire that might attempt similar actions, everything you need to see threats coming before they arrive. Patricia looked at the data pad in surprise. "This is classified information." "It was," Gorthak confirmed, My high command approved its release to human colonies. Consider it both an apology and an insurance policy." Over the next hour, Gorthak spoke with various families. He answered their questions honestly, even when the answers made him look bad. He listened to their anger without defending himself. He acknowledged their pain without trying to minimize it. One young boy, no more than 8 years old, walked up to Gorthak. The child had been among the hostages. He looked up at the Krenth ambassador with serious eyes. "You were one of the bad guys," the boy said directly. "Yes," Gorthak replied. "I was." "But you are trying to be good now?" "I am trying," Gorthak confirmed. "It is harder than I expected." The boy thought about this. Then he held out his hand. "My dad says everyone deserves a second chance, but just one. Do not waste it." Gorthak carefully shook the small hand with 2 of his claws. "I will not waste it. You have my word." As the sun set on New Haven, Jake watched from a distance. Brandon stood beside him. "Do you think it is real?" Brandon asked. "The change in him?" "I think trauma changes people," Jake replied. He saw his worldview destroyed in a single day, learned that everything he believed about strength was wrong. That kind of shock either breaks someone or remakes them. He is choosing to be remade. "And the galaxy?" Brandon pressed. "Do you think the other species will really change?" Jake watched the Krenth ambassador speaking earnestly with colonists who had every right to hate him. He saw human children playing safely, protected by the strength their species had revealed, but tempered with the mercy they had chosen. He thought about the Defense Initiative beginning operations, about species learning to work together instead of living in fear. "I think we gave them a reason to try," Jake said finally. "We showed them that predators can be protectors, that power can be used for good, that mercy is not weakness." He smiled slightly. Whether they follow that example is up to them, but at least now they know it is possible. 5 years after the New Haven crisis, Ambassador Jake Morrison stood before the council one last time. He was retiring, returning to Earth to teach at the Diplomatic Academy. Kevin Palmer would take his place as Earth's representative. "When humans first joined this council," Jake said in his farewell address, "we were seen as the newest and weakest members. Pleasant but unimportant. Good for trade, but not for much else. We accepted that perception because it served our goals of integration." He looked around the chamber at faces both familiar and new. "But when circumstances required, we showed you what humans truly are. Not conquerors, not merchants, not politicians, but people from a death world who learned that the strongest predators are those who choose when not to hunt." The Council Defense Initiative had responded to 14 crisis situations in 5 years, all resolved peacefully. 3 attempts at territorial expansion stopped before they began. 5 humanitarian missions to disaster zones. 6 hostage situations ended without casualties. The initiative had become exactly what Jake hoped, a force for stability. The Krenth Empire had undergone dramatic changes. Tekvar, the young soldier who spoke to the council, had risen to become a high-ranking officer. He worked closely with human military advisors. Krenth culture was slowly shifting, valuing honor earned through protection rather than conquest. Other species had adapted too. The galaxy had not become perfect. There were still conflicts, still disagreements, still moments of tension. But there was also cooperation, mutual respect, and shared security. The balance had shifted toward peace. "I came here 15 years ago, hoping humans could be part of something greater," Jake continued. "Hoping we could contribute to a peaceful galaxy. I am proud to say we have done that. Not by hiding what we are, but by showing that what we are includes the capacity for both strength and compassion." He stepped down from the podium for the last time. As he walked toward the exit, species from across the galaxy stood in respect. Some applauded. Some made their species-specific sounds of honor. Gorthak, now a senior Krenth ambassador, placed his claw over his heart in a gesture of deep respect. Jake stopped at the door and looked back one final time. At this chamber where he had spent so many years, where he had revealed humanity's true nature, where the galaxy had learned that Earth's children were protected by predators who had learned to be guardians. "The Council recognizes humanity," Zrixtal said quietly. "Today and always." Jake smiled and left the chamber. Outside, Lisa and the rest of his team waited. They would all go home together. Back to Earth, back to the world that had made them what they were, survivors, protectors, and proof that the most dangerous predators are those who choose peace.